Okay, so you want to make a podcast. A lot of people use Audacity to go about doing that, and that's great if you have a mixer. If you don't have a mixer, well, it's going to cost you money and time trying to figure out how all that works if you're not, a pro at audio setups. So, it just we've done it for a little while now, over a year, and we recently came across an issue where Google Hangouts was what we were using for our three person podcast, and it was changing the audio volume quite a bit automatically. It's kind of the protocol that it uses kind of does that to help make it more clear. Problem is when you're recording and you have multiple people on the line, that can kind of screw things up. Especially when you're recording it on one stream and you want to keep the levels constant. So we started looking for an alternative, and that alternative was by using this Mumble. It's a VoIP server and client for pretty much any platform you need. Not so sure about iOS, but I know it works for Android, Mac, and Linux, and Windows. You can download that right down here. Oh, it does look like there's an iOS version, so that's good. There's various different clients I know on the Android side that interface with this, so it's a lot of options there. And the good thing about it is that you can basically pipe in everybody as an individual caller into the chat. And the mumble-server is really a chat for people that weren't doing gaming. They came up with this because games that didn't have a native client for chatting, they wanted to work around. And so here you go. The great thing is now we found that this works awesome for doing podcasts because it makes it super easy to pipe in where you need to and record basically all as one audio stream, and or you can do as separate samples. So like if my buddy's talking, his will be his recording, mine will be my recording, and it'll all be like the same lengths basically. So then you can just slap it all in Audacity and do the editing you might need to do, or any other editor for that matter. So just kind of run through this. So you want to download your package, whether it be like I'm using Ubuntu, which I did through the normal Synaptic package manager. You can use apt also to install it. I just didn't know the exact program name, so I just dug it up on Synaptic. It was a lot easier. So once you get it installed, I have it currently up and running. It pretty much is an auto script, so it's going to load every time your system loads. And you see, here's the server. The server is actually called Murmur. So this is the process that's running on my computer right now. When you're in Windows, over here, when you want to start up the Mumble server, it will actually be listed under the program group of Murmur. I've already installed the package for Windows, and I'm just going to kind of quickly run through a server setup. So here, it starts out, and you're going to get a little list of servers to connect to. Just ignore all that. You want to add new. You want to create a name that you and your friends are going to know. The address. Now, the address is a server. If you're all on the same network, chances are you're not, because you're doing this over the internet. But the address for the local person is the IP address of the computer. So for this computer, if you needed to know what the IP address is, you can come into the command prompt IP config, and this is one of my networks. Looks like that's it. So if I was the server, this would be my IP address. So that's what you would put in the address here. Leave the port what it is. It's pretty much the standard use for that. Username is basically whatever you want to call yourself on the chat. So ideally that should be unique to you. Once you get all this up and running, you hit OK, and it'll connect, assuming the server's up running. So once you get in there, you'll basically see everybody listed down on the side here of who's in the chat, each individual voice. I mean, you can use individuals or separate pieces of equipment. So if you want to have like a sound effect board, you would basically have that device dial in as a new user, and you just pipe in any playback sound through there, and it picks it up pretty good. I've done it with my cell phone actually, and I'm not entirely sure that's recording the audio direct, but it sounded pretty close. And I think it was actually coming in through the microphone of the phone, but yeah, I couldn't really say it was distinguishably different. Okay, so once you get the server address connected, you need to make sure anybody outside your network can get in. So what you do is you log into your access. So in this case, I have my Xfinity Wi-Fi router that is my direct access point to the internet. So I've logged in already. You want to come to advanced, and of course to kick me out after time. Let me get back in there. And I really wish you could change that admin, but you can't, so go to advanced port forwarding. So as you can see, I've got a couple set up here. This one don't worry about, but this is the kind of the key one. And if you don't have one already set up, then you gotta go add service, and basically it'll look just like this. Services, put other, name it whatever you want to name it. To remember, just leave TP and UDP because I do believe it uses both. And that address that you had over here, if you're on the same network, you put that address here. If it's well, sorry, that's correct. If whatever that server address is, that's going to be the address here. This is actually a different machine, so no big deal there. So once you've got this all set up with the ports as the same port for inbound and exiting, hit save. So anybody that wants to connect you, now you need to tell them what your external IP address is. And your gateway, I think, will tell you, or you can go to like a site that says, like myIPaddress.com, and the address that it tells you, you just tell them that, tell them the port number, and that's pretty much going to get you to your server. And once connected, you'll see them pop in here. You get a nice log down this side stating who connected. I don't want to do it right now and show you any of that, only because it will screw up my recording, because already it's done that a few times, because the interface jumps back and forth because I'm on a virtual machine. That's a lot of mumbo jumbo, but it kind of screws things up, so unfortunately I can't show you exactly how that pans out. So once you get all that up and running, you just hit record. It's going to ask you this kind of stuff: downmix, multi-channel. Downmix is basically everything in one file. Here's you can pick, your different sources. Vorbis is pretty common, pretty good to use. Uncompressed, one of these two, uncompressed, are going to take up a lot of room. FLAC is a little bit better with space, but not as good as Vorbis, because that's open source, and that's probably why they chose an MP3. They might have had some licensing issues. That's why they didn't go that route. Target directory. This is basically the file name structure. I would leave it all alone. And as soon as you're ready, you hit start, and it'll record the whole call. Your other callers, any sound effects devices you've got plugged in as it's playing, and it's pretty much a one-stop shop at that point. Once you're done, go to your folder where you're keeping this. You do your editing with Audacity or whatever it is you like to use, and you're good to go. And from there on out, you don't need to worry about crazy mixer setups and things like that. It pretty much all works. One thing to note is, like, when you're first setting up Mumble, there's like a whole audio configuration. Yeah, here it is right here. And the key thing to note is there's like sliders for where your adjustment is. Your microphone is auto enabled based on sound. That's kind of the default setting. You can do a push to talk kind of thing where you have to press a button, or you can just basically leave it recording or listening the whole time, which, if you're recording, that could be a lot of background noise and a lot of wasted space because you're pumping through so much more data. So best to just leave it as voice activated. You just need to adjust the slider so that your voice is triggering the recording somewhere in the yellow and green range. So kind of do a little testing, 1, 2, 3, see where that meter's jumping, and put the slider basically at the lowest point. So that way it'll catch, just any low amount of voice input that you're giving out. And that's about it. So good luck with that, and if you got questions, drop them in the comment box and I'll do my best to help you out.